Hello everyone, this is Yoko. In this channel, I will be sharing information in English that I have gathered myself because events happening in China often don't get reported in other countries. I gather information from various media sources, so I would be glad to receive your comments on the content of the videos. If you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing to the channel and supporting us. Today's topic is about Evergrande Group. The High Court in Hong Kong has issued a winding up order against Evergrande Group. This has been reported by many media outlets, including those in Japan. Evergrande Group had previously acknowledged being in a state of bankruptcy. Essentially, Evergrande Group holds a significant amount of assets, primarily in real estate development. This includes properties that are yet to be completed. In other words, they own a vast amount of real estate in China. However, despite acknowledging a situation where their debts exceed the total value of their assets, there is a possibility that if China's economy remains strong, Evergrande Group could complete and sell the real estate they are developing, increasing the value of their assets and repaying their lenders along with interest. In such a scenario, redevelopment firms would likely not have any grievances. However, the current economic situation in China does not align with this scenario. The value of assets held by Evergrande Group, primarily real estate, is declining. Consequently, while Evergrande Group's assets are decreasing, their debts are increasing. In this situation, there is a possibility that recovery may become difficult as it stands. As a result, some redevelopment firms have filed lawsuits against Evergrande Group. In response, the High Court in Hong Kong has ruled and issued a winding up order against Evergrande Group. Currently, Hong Kong is under the influence of the Communist Party, and there is a possibility that the courts in Hong Kong may postpone conclusions similar to those in mainland China. However, legally, Hong Kong has its own legal system. The future is uncertain, but there is a legal infrastructure based on UK law. There is a history of contract enforcement and fair trials. Therefore, there is a different atmosphere compared to mainland China. So, it's not surprising that Evergrande Group has become a debtor and is legally required to liquidate. If this were mainland China, there might be a possibility that the courts would not accept such cases or indefinitely postpone them. However, Hong Kong is a bit different. Also, the issuance of the liquidation order against Evergrande Group hasn't elicited much reaction from global stock prices. This is because everyone wasn't surprised by such a judgment. Hong Kong is currently under the control of the Communist Party, so nobody knows what the outcome will be. However, even if such judgments are handed down, no one would be surprised. As for what happens next, Evergrande Group's debt is said to be around 50 trillion yen, an enormous amount. Thus, liquidating the company means converting Evergrande Group's assets into money. Given that Evergrande Group acknowledges being over-indebted, even if we combine everything, it won't reach 50 trillion yen. Let's say it's half, 25 trillion yen. In that case, creditors could recover half of it. However, this is merely a theoretical calculation, and the likelihood of realization is low. The reason is that most of Evergrande Group's assets are in China. These are not cash but include office buildings, apartments, and unfinished projects. Although these are unfinished, they are not worthless. If these real estate development projects were evaluated in cash, they would have some value. These constitute Evergrande Group's assets. By the way, in China, when carrying out real estate development, the government leases land. In other words, they obtain the right to use the land. This right itself holds value. Even if it doesn't become one's own, the right to use land holds almost equivalent economic value to owning the land itself. This is also the case in Japan. When a company obtains the right to use land from the government, the value of that company significantly increases. Evergrande Group is developing real estate across China. For instance, they establish subsidiaries and these subsidiaries acquire the right to use land. Even if projects are incomplete, they are considered valuable. This is one way these become part of Evergrande Group's assets. There is much skepticism in China about whether Evergrande Group can actually do this. First, let's discuss the current situation in China. Real estate prices are declining, meaning if real estate must be sold, the overall prices are decreasing. Even if Evergrande Group doesn't sell real estate, prices are declining, causing problems. If more properties flood the market, disrupting the balance of supply and demand, it's uncertain how much prices will fall. This situation concerns not only Evergrande Group's redevelopers but also ordinary Chinese citizens. A significant portion of China's assets is real estate. Even those who appeared wealthy due to rising apartment prices from the bubble would face problems if real estate prices continued to fall, including ordinary Chinese citizens and other real estate developers. The Communist Party government would not allow a massive influx of real estate that could disrupt the balance of supply and demand. Next, Evergrande Group currently has numerous unfinished real estate development projects. If they want to sell these projects to other companies to continue them, those companies will likely demand significantly lower prices. Especially for projects where payments have been received from buyers, completing the projects would likely not yield much profit. Even if a project is evaluated at a certain amount, attempting to sell it may not attract buyers, and even if buyers appear, significant price negotiations are expected. However, this scenario is common for large real estate companies. The real issue arises when another company takes over the project. For instance, in the midst of real estate development like condominiums, there's a risk of shortcuts in construction or the use of subpar materials. We've seen cases, not necessarily involving Evergrande Group but other real estate developments like Country Garden, where concrete floors were thinly laid and reinforced with wire-like materials. Such shortcuts and cost-cutting measures are prevalent across China. Despite financial constraints, real estate developers are pressured by the government to complete buildings. This pressure can lead to the construction of unsafe buildings, and when another company takes over such projects, questions arise about the responsibility for construction defects. While supervisory authorities typically ensure construction quality, if companies engage in serious shortcuts, it often indicates collusion between the company and local authorities, and the local government may overlook the issue. This is the backdrop against which such practices occur. It's common for them to occur due to the detention of a specific company by the communist regime. When another company takes over the project, there's a high likelihood that ties with the local government, such as secret agreements or connections, may be severed. In such cases, the new owner may not be able to conceal issues that arise, and they may not understand how to conceal them. This is something Chinese government officials would want to avoid, as it leads to a loss of control. Thus, from the perspective of disposing of assets held by Evergrande Group within China, there's no incentive for the Communist Party regime. Especially considering the detrimental effects on the Chinese economy, particularly real estate prices, there are only downsides. Essentially, even if Evergrande Group tries to dispose of assets within China, it's expected to face significant interference from the government, hindering the process greatly. Furthermore, aside from interference, for instance, if Evergrande Group owns properties worth 10 billion yen in Japan and someone offers to buy them for only 500 million yen during the sale, such individuals may emerge. Those who can undertake such actions are typically individuals with political power within the Chinese Communist Party or government-affiliated enterprises under their influence. They leverage their political influence to acquire valuable assets at very low prices. Such scenarios are highly plausible in China. While it's uncertain how they are handled in Japan, for example, dealing with non-performing loans in banks has involved establishing specific companies to handle them. These companies purchase non-performing loans at low prices and then recover amounts exceeding the purchase price, making substantial profits. Similar occurrences happen during large bankruptcies or economic crises. In both cases, assets must be liquidated into cash, and in such situations, individuals with political power often seize valuable assets at very low prices. I don't think there is a way to avoid this in China. With journalists, police, and prosecutors not monitoring, and the Communist Party controlling everything, if high-ranking party members decide to profit from it, no one can stop them. Ultimately, since most of Evergrande Group's assets are within China, creditors may not see much repayment. In summary, despite the desire to sell assets, various obstacles are expected, and another issue is the potential for politically influential individuals to seize valuable assets that should be sold. Therefore, it's highly questionable whether Evergrande Group's many assets will actually be recovered. That concludes our discussion for now. Let's meet again next time.